Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here in our interview with Eric. Eric retired at a young age of 42, and after 20-year career in the newspaper industry, when a greater calling took over, he delved into meditation and yoga and has been a yoga teacher for the past 14 years. Eric is also a Master Reiki Practitioner and teacher. He traveled to India and studied there for a year and a half on how to become a regression therapist. A regression therapist teaches people how to correctly handle their anger issues in a positive manner. This is not easy task for individuals, especially in today's fast-paced world. He is also a graduate of Heartcore Leadership Program, has coached the leadership program several times, and has completed the PhD leadership program. Eric is now an anger management specialist and a couples counselor. He is trained especially to deal with court mandated cases. He uses his knowledge and human touch to teach people how to use the energy of anger to gain insight into their triggers and how to use their energy in a positive way to live a fulfilled, peaceful, and harmonious life. He's passionate about helping couples release all negative patterns and behaviors that keep them stuck in the past and teaches them to build a new relationship based on love, sacredness, and connection. Eric also utilizes his expertise in anger management to help business people manage irate
Right.
customers,
Irate.
colleagues, and competitors. I have never heard that word before, so thank you for introducing that to me.
No problem.
Um, since English is my second language, I'm so excited, Eric, to be talking to you about this. And I know that we have talked before about anger, and maybe we can just touch a little bit that later on. But I remember that some time before when I found my anger inside of me, you supported me, and that was awesome. Thank you.
Very welcome.
So I have a couple of questions for you, and we're gonna start with the first one. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Yes. So my first question is, what do you do? What is it that you do right now? Are you connected and in this life? What do you do?
So that's a big question. And right now, the two big focuses in my life in terms of career is around supporting people with anger issues.
Mm-hmm.
And like my bio said, learning how to deal with the triggers that they have, how to heal them. And that has led me actually to do couples work. So as you know, in a couple, there's often friction, and the couples counseling work that I do often focuses on the triggers that each of them have so that we can get to a different place in understanding our partner's trigger and helping them to resolve that, helping them to de escalate situations rather than have them escalate, and learn how to create win wins in their relationship rather than win lose situations or right wrong situations. So yeah, I do a lot of work with couples and a lot of work mostly with men, but some also with women who have anger issues.
So interesting. I remember one time I was having a discussion with my husband, and you know, eh, I didn't use my voice a lot. And I remember one time that we were arguing, and I just told him I want to win for a time. Like I remember, I just want to win. Let me win. And it was just so interesting because what you said just brought that memory to me. Because what I realized when I said it out loud, and I said it with so much, passion, and I like a lot of feeling in me, I realized that what I wanted him is to lose. I needed him to lose somehow so I can feel that I was winning. And I was like, oh. That's not good, right? But to be able to see it was just awesome. But I love what you said, because creating those win-win situations sometimes is hard because we don't know if we truly wanted it. I mean, I could say, yeah, I wanted the win-win situation, but at that moment, it was very clear for me that that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, often when we're fighting in a couple, it's like we're kind of going back to our childhood, and
Mhm.
it's like often I'll witness a couple together. It's like watching two children fight, and
Mm,
we actually do come back to, because it's our old wounds that are really coming out in our couple. It's like our inner child, the one who wants to win, is there and present, and that can invoke also in our partner the one who wants to win, and we end up trying to have a win lose situation, which is, as you know, it's a lose lose situation, because if your partner loses in the end, they're going to be resentful, and
mhm,
that
mhm.
resentment is going to come back at some point in time in the relationship, and it's going to be lose lose. So win win
100%.
is what it's about.
100%. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, number two, question number two, what made you interested in what you do currently? And tell me about how you got there.
What made me interested is my upbringing. It
Mm,
was watching my parents, or witnessing my parents fighting
mm,
and arguing and wanting to be right, and in win lose battles. And it created a lot of tension in my home. So I have a brother and sister, and often after a fight there would be a long period of silence in our household where our parents weren't speaking to each other.
mhm,
And that created a lot of tension in our home. And um, there was, I think, a fixer kind of born in me at that time, which
mm,
wanted me to resolve those situations. And I would often get involved from a very young age with my parents in trying to get them to resolve the conflict that they had. And it sort of developed from that point onwards. Often we swear as kids that we'll never be like our parents, but
mm,
we end up being them. And I also became my parents in terms of fighting for win lose, and having those kinds of arguments and silent treatment, and all of that, until I had like the wake up call that, hey, you know what, I've become them. I've become exactly what I didn't want to be.
mm,
And that's when I went to go get different kinds of training and therapy myself. In terms of becoming a regression therapist, I had to go through therapy. In terms of anger management, I had to go through my own therapy. So all of that supported me in the work that I do today. But it started very young, from being a child and witnessing the dysfunction of
mm,
what a bad relationship can look like, and the turmoil and the tension that it causes. So there was a very a yearning at a very young age to want to be able to create something different in the world.
yeah. I think it's just so lovely because somehow, that interests us, at least what I've seen is that it became really early. If I go back, I can see, oh my God, this is when I saw it for the first time. And then, it's just so beautiful because it's like I knew from the beginning why I was here. But I had to go through that journey so I could end up here on the other side.
Yeah. Well, there's a saying that says our greatest wounds become our biggest gifts. And
Mm,
I think as a child, it wounded me to see what was happening between my parents. And that wound actually turned into a gift for the world, because that's something that I can provide support with for couples and just people in general. So yeah, I'm very happy to have lived that life and be able to provide the gift that I can provide today.
beautiful. So this one takes us to question number three. And what has been your biggest or most profound shift, transformation, or breakthrough, and how it has affected your life?
The biggest shift, I think, occurred to me when I did the leadership program that you talked about in the bio.
Mm,
And it was really a shift of learning to be responsible to events in my life rather than to be a victim of them.
Mm.
And I realized I was only in my late 50s when I did the leadership work. And it was a big awakening to realize that I was a victim to people, to circumstances, to events. And I was letting those events and people have power over me
Mhm.
when if I was just being responsible for how I was being after the event or after the situation, I could connect to a whole different way of being powerful, and not
Mhm.
powerful from an egotistical standpoint, but really just realizing that I have more control over my life than what I thought I had.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you said about powerful because at one point in my life, again, I didn't use my voice that much. And then when I use it, it's like it was to be powerful, right? So I had to be louder and bigger than everybody else. And I thought that that was power. Somehow it's like, this is me, huge. And
Watch
then
out.
the angrier I was, the more power I felt. And wow, was I wrong, right? Because that had nothing to do with power. Actually, what I saw is it connected me, just as you say, with my fear, with my trauma, and yeah, it was not nice. Actually, I felt depleted every time. Afterwards, I would feel like, oh my God, what did I do to myself? Because it felt like really icky in my body.
Yeah,
And
anger is definitely exhausting. So
yes.
when we experience it in our body and we be that for any length of period of time, it's exhausting for the body and it's damaging to the body also. Like I know through my studies that it's harmful to the heart.
Oh, wow.
It also suppresses the immune system. So staying in anger actually for 5 minutes suppresses the immune system for 6 hours. So
Wow.
yeah, and that's probably also why you felt the drain in energy and the fatigue because it is really damaging to the body.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's just amazing what you're saying, 5 minutes to 6 hours. So, I mean, I don't know if it correlates like that all the time, but imagine, that means that it could be only a thought. So even, when it comes to you, the anger, it comes, and then you're able to let it go. But then already you can feel it. You're gonna feel, it's like an aftertaste. That's how I can describe it. It's like an aftertaste that stays there for a while. But I had not have anybody um relating it to me that way. Wow, that is impactful.
Yeah.
Impactful.
Well, hopefully it supports people in realizing that you don't need to stay in it, right? And
Mhm.
and it is unhealthy to stay in it. So there are many different ways, obviously, to cope with anger. And I know that's not the focus of today, but there are many different ways to focus on it that gets our body out of it and gets us back into a relaxed state where we're healthier and our immune system is working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you want to share a little bit of that. That would be awesome for the people.
Yeah, for sure. So the best way I know how to get myself out is through breath work, actually, and
Okay.
it's a very simple technique of breathing in through your nose for a count of 4 and
Mhm.
breathing out through your mouth for a count of 8. So that really resets our nervous system. Yeah, you could try it right now and just even notice the effects of breathing in
Mhm.
and breathing out for double the length. The longer exhale through the mouth is what actually releases tension in the body. And the counting is what switches us from our emotional state to the logical state. And we really need to be when we're in problem solving mode. So we talked about creating win-wins, right? When we're
Mhm.
in problem solving mode, we can't get there in a state of anger because we've lost access to the logical and creative parts of our brain.
Wow.
So we really need to reset our nervous system so that we can access again the logical part and the creative part of our brain in order to find the win-win solution. So important to um, to work on our nervous system when we're angry and to get out of it quickly, because that's what will help us find their solutions.
Lovely. I mean, thank you for sharing that because even I feel more relaxed. So thank you.
Don't fall
But
asleep. Don't fall asleep on me, Carla.
it's just so amazing because again we go through it. We go through it probably every day of our lives, right? But then we go to I go to it in a non-conscious way, and then suddenly you're telling me all these things, and it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense. It totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Because even that aftertaste that I'm talking about, right? Maybe I can just calm it down with what you're saying. I mean, just not only getting it out, but also, putting myself in a different state, in a different connection with my own body. Because at that moment when I get into anger, I don't know, I can feel it in my body. It just bubbles up everywhere. And then suddenly I get to disconnect and connect with my body in a different way. And I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, our body is actually the first signal that we're in anger. We go into what's called the fight, flight, or freeze state.
Mm-hmm.
And anger wants us to either fight or run away or freeze in a situation. And in order to get out of that, we need to manage our nervous system. And breath work is, like I said, one of the most powerful ways to do it. Um, there are many others, like even just going for a walk in nature if you're angry is a great way to calm the body and relax. Like getting out of the same room as a person you might have had a fight with is also a great way, because even in the room you can feel the tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
When people are upset and somebody comes in, they know automatically that something's happened here. So
Mm-hmm.
separating spaces, allowing the energy to leave and to dissipate is also very helpful in managing the nervous system.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that with us, Eric, because I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
And this takes us to question number 4. That I really think that you gave us a little bit of this already, but I'm gonna ask the question anyways. What is the golden nugget that you're gonna share with us uh, that helps you move or shift um, every day in your daily life? What is your preferred one?
So I consider like my superpower to be neutrality,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm triggered or when I'm angry or a
Mm-hmm.
situation has happened, um, I can quickly recognize that I'm in that state, and I can switch to neutrality. Meaning I don't need to make it better. I don't need to have my critic, bash me because something went wrong. I can really shift to a space of neutrality where I could recognize that whatever event happened, first of all, it happened for me, not to me. So I can kind of get out of victim state. And then I can sit with what are the pros and cons of that situation.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm not sitting in the negativity, or I'm not sitting there also with rose colored glasses on trying to make everything positive. I'm stepping back to see everything from a more broader perspective, knowing that whatever event has happened, there's a positive and negative to it, no matter what. And we don't realize it often. We can fall victim, like I talked about before, which I was often in that victim state. But to shift out of it, for me, the shift is to neutrality, so that I
Mm-hmm.
can see from a broader perspective what's good and what's not so good. I can keep the what's good, and now I can work on shifting the not so good. So I'm still empowered, right? But I can only get to that space once I find neutrality.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you. Now I have a question. When you said it, it's like, because you said, well, when I recognize, and that was my first question. Okay, so how can I recognize it? How can I recognize that I got into anger or I
Ah,
got into that state?
yeah, great question. So for me, and everybody could be a little bit different, but for me,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm triggered, when I'm jumping to anger or upset, for me, the first sign is like a churning in my stomach. My
Mm.
stomach starts to churn. And if I'm really starting to get upset, my heart might start to beat a little bit faster. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I might get sweaty palms. I could feel maybe heat or my body getting tense. Like for me, there's a lot of signs when I'm there. It's like I'm privileged to be connected with my body because of my yoga practice, because that really supports in being connected with your body. But again, as I studied anger and realized that our body does physically change in anger, and there are signs that we're in it, when you really start to pay attention to it, that's the first sign. As soon as somebody says something to me that might make me angry, the bodily signs are already starting, right? And for me, that's the time I know, like, don't even open your mouth, Eric, because whatever's going to come out, it's not going to be good.
Yeah.
And that's where I can withdraw and not flee a situation, but actually take time out, right? To just reflect on, okay, what really upset me here? Like, what assumptions am I making about this situation? What assumptions am I making about the other person? Because they're probably negative assumptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what belief do I have about myself that might be a negative belief that's causing me to be upset? There's lots of reflection I could do once I connect to the bodily sign.
Yeah.
And that's what can support me in creating the switch, right? Because if I've made a negative assumption, I might realize, well, that's probably not even true, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did the person
Mm-hmm.
really have an intent to hurt me? Most likely not, because I'm not surrounded by people in my life who are really trying to hurt me, and most people aren't, right? And if you are, well, then there's maybe different work to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm starting from a place or realizing that I made a bad assumption that is incorrect, I that also might even support me in my nervous system relaxing, because now I
Mm-hmm.
realize, okay, like I just made up a story that made me upset. And often that's what's happening. We're making up stories that have us upset, or we're connected to negative belief systems that have us upset.
It's so interesting. You touch 2 points there that I want to talk about. The first one is you said that it was very important that you are not putting, your pink glasses and make it everything okay, or avoid. I call it my avoidance, because then oh no, everything is fine, nothing is happening, I'm fine. I'm fine, and I'm so angry inside, but I'm fine.
Right, right.
And I call it my avoidance because I'm fine is my avoidance. And gosh, that never took me anywhere. It was, if anything, I got more and more into resentment because I was not validating my feelings. I was not validating me and what was going on for me.
Yeah. Yeah, very powerful to recognize and to notice, right? Yeah. So it's not about trying to make everything, like, it's not about having a positive attitude all the time, because
Mm-hmm.
that truly doesn't work. It really doesn't, because we're ignoring, as I said, everything has a pro and a con to it. And if I just want to put those glasses on and think everything's wonderful, I'm ignoring the things that aren't. It's like, watching the stock market, and I'll only watch the stock market when it's going up, and when it's going down, I don't want to look at it, right? It's the avoidance that you're
Doesn't
talking
exist.
about.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. If I don't look at it, it's not happening.
Yes, yes, yes.
So yeah, so important to realize that it's not, because the opposite could also be true, right? Where I'm just in self beat up over the situation. I'm not looking at the positive. I'm just looking at how horrible this is, and I'm going on a downward spiral about how horrible it is. But the truth is, it might be horrible, right? But there also might be something, a blessing on the other side of it.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
that's where the power of neutrality for me is so strong, because now I'm living in reality where both exist.
Okay, so let's go and talk and jump into that, because the other question that I had is to explain a little bit more about neutrality and what it means to you, because you have mentioned it a couple of times already. What does that mean for you to be in neutrality or to find that neutrality?
Well, to find it, first of all, like I said, it's super powerful, because I know that I'm not glossing over things that are
Mm,
going wrong in my life, or I'm not, because often, like for me, my pattern in the past was to be stuck. And if I was stuck, it's because I was only focusing on the negative that was happening. And
mhm,
the more I focused on the negative, the more I didn't want to do anything because I don't want to face the negative, or I'm stuck in just in the whole self beat up of the mind telling me how bad I am and how, horrible things are. So there's a stuckness that can exist when we're really focused more on the negative. And that's where I was for a large part of my life. So being able to see neutrality, that, hey, you know what, even if now I take a step somewhere, it's just a result. Like, because even our minds could make up, if I do this, I might fail, right? Or if I do this, I'm going to succeed, which is, it's just the opposite side of our ego, right?
Mhm.
I'm great if I succeeded. I'm probably not looking at the bad part of what also might have
Mhm.
happened.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or I'm horrible if I failed. But a result is truly just a result. And when I can see it from the standpoint of neutrality, I get to keep the good parts of the result
Mm.
and I get to
Mm.
shift the negative parts of the result. Because even if I think it went well, there's still something that probably could have gone better.
Yeah.
And that I can go back and look at too, because I'm not just stuck with my rose colored glasses on, hey, I succeeded. I can also look at what didn't work in it and produce an even better result the next time. So that's how neutrality has become so powerful for me, because it's got me out of stuckness to be
Mhm.
able to move to recognize that a result is just a result. It's not a failure or a success, or it's both, right? Because it really is both. And how can I keep what's working and how can I shift what's not working?
Nice. Nice, nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Eric, for everything and for your golden nuggets and all the information that you have given us. Tell the audience where they can find you. Are you in social media, right?
I am on Facebook. You can find me under Eric Antonette on Facebook. And here, I guess on your YouTube post, I can put some other links as to where to reach me. My web page is not functioning at the moment, but it's going to be up and running again soon. There was some crash on my web page, but
Okay.
I can put some details on where to connect with it once it's back up and running.
Beautiful. We'll do that. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for supporting us. I really think that, everything that you shared was so amazing for me. And I'm taking already my exercises and my golden nuggets so I can use them every day. And yeah, anything else that you want to share with the audience?
I just want to thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure to connect with you again, and I miss you so much. And thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure to share all of this with you.
Oh, thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye, everybody. We connect tomorrow again. Bye bye.